What is up, guys? You got NotTheWorst here, bringing another Black Desert online video, and today we're taking a look at the new Dehkia version of Sulfur Mine. See how good is it. Actually, this just came out this week for NAEU servers. KR servers got it just the week before. It's, of course, a treasure spot Dehkia version with the map pieces dropping 2 of the 4 that are needed, following up the release of PvE the week before. So let's go ahead and take a look at where it's located if you're not familiar with it. Pull up the map here. You can see it is just north a bit of Valencia City, right up top there. You can connect these nodes. It's the Sulfur Mine node on there to increase your drop rate for it. And speaking of drops, let's pull that up and take a look at what the drops look like for this zone. Now, slightly different than PvE, including one item. The Mana's Clothes can allegedly drop from here, but they're incredibly rare. Other than that, pretty much the same as what we saw with Dehkia PvE. We've got artifacts, of course, the Debo earring is in the mix there. Sissel necklaces, along with the soiled versions to hopefully get some more. Spectre's Energy, Blackstones, of course, our map pieces, the 2 of them, Tukar and Devourer. Lava Devourer are the 2 mobs that drop the 2 pieces that you need. Of course, you need each of their types. Now, you can't get 2 of the same one. And the same old, as we saw with PvE, Kaffir Stones, a ton of scrolls drop here, Spirit Dust, Black Spirit Claws, which still sell really well for whatever reason, and a lot of Yona Fragments as well. As far as the gear for this place, this is the gear that I used, my gear. The recommended for it is that 920 AP, and the cap is 1000 AP, in line with all of the other Dehkia spots that we see. It's a 70% cap. The mobs here are a demi-human type, so running a Lightstone setup of the Wild's demi-human is going to be pretty beneficial, especially if you're over the cap of that 1000, because it's going to deal a bit more damage for you. I did run an elixir rotation, and I would recommend it, especially with that demi-human modifier added in there alongside it, but you absolutely don't have to. A frenzy draft will get the job done if you just want to be kind of cruising and doing whatever. It's not required. So that is what the drops look like. Let's go ahead and talk about the mechanics for this spot and cover those. So this spot's actually pretty simple as far as how the mechanics work. You're going to see there's different AoEs that occur here, all in different colors. We've got yellow, which effectively makes a little sulfur pool that will put a dot on you as well and kind of ticks a bit of damage. Depending on your gear, this is fairly negligible and easily out-healed for sure with an elixir rotation and even a bit with frenzy rotation. Not that you want to stand directly in it, but if you're just straight DPS, and you don't necessarily have to bail out on this, depending on what your gear looks like. We also have purple AoEs. These ones are a bit different. They also deal ticks of damage across them. There's not a dot applied. They also have the ability to knock you down the KD. So if you are DPSing in them, which I do frequently, just make sure that you're protected when the KD triggers on it, but you don't have to be like, oh my god, super run out. The one that you have to be super run out is the red AoE. This one causes an explosion that also KDs and does about 80% of my health if I'm full on mine. So lower geared, it's going to do a lot more as well. Keep that in mind. I can see this being a virtual one-shot in some scenarios for certain lower DR type players, or maybe an evasion set that doesn't get evaded here and ends up just not having DR. So keep that in mind. The red circle is definitely the one where don't stand in it, don't DPS in it because you're being greedy. Like, just get out when it pops up. It's not nearly as frequent as the others, of which you'll see. There's also a blue AoE that spawns in. Blue means good. You want to be standing in this AoE. What happens is it will trigger. Sometimes it triggers twice. It gives you a 60-second buff that then makes you effectively like 2-shot all of the mobs there. So you can just kind of burn through them once that geyser goes off and gives you the buff. Now, the geyser will keep spraying for a little while, but if you stand near it, it will also keep applying a 10-second attack speed buff of 5%, which can be pretty nice. So you kind of want to group the mobs up around that area if you can, so you can continuously get that attack speed buff on top of the 60-second damage buff, and it's pretty significant. This is kind of the key to improving your trash loot, is making sure you're on top of your blue buffs. Only other mechanic that really happens here is you're going to see boss spawns. Both the Tukar and the Devourer have boss versions of them that will spawn. Obviously, they're much tankier. Lining up blue buff with the boss spawns is also kind of the strat to maximizing trash loot here, but there's a bit of RNG involved with that and some handiwork on nailing those geysers within the time frame for it. But yeah, you'll see they're much tankier. Once you kill them, they actually then spawn an additional set of 5 of either Tukar or Devourer, depending on which ones they are. So it's kind of like a boss version. Hopefully you get your map piece off of these rounds. Outside of the boss spawns, you'll see that you get a Tukar and Devourer spawning every single round, so it could just drop whenever. And that's really it. There's no other mechanics that happen here. The boss trash loot, from what I could tell, ranged anywhere from 100 to, I don't know that it goes to 300, but it definitely goes 250 plus for it. I think if 263 was the highest that I saw when you're on yellow loot scroll. So there's a bit of variance there, a little bit more than Pilaku, but not as drastic as Akhman is with the boss spawns and how that affects your trash loot. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're trying to do a full sweat mode, high score, trash loot, or whatever, that there's going to be a bit of variance based on those boss spawns. So that's pretty much it for the mechanics. Place is pretty relaxed as far as that goes. Just don't stand in the red circles, not much to it. So let's jump into the spreadsheet and take a look how we did. All right, so first thing off the bat that we'll cover is, you can see across the 10 hours we logged, did a little over 1.5 billion, and this does include debos. In that time frame, I did drop 2 debos as compared to Pilaku. I dropped 3. 2 were in the same hour. However, I can tell you, after I have done subsequent hours after this, I just didn't really bother track. I don't full sweat mode track every single hour I grind in this game. I just kind of get the data together for a video, and then as you can see, I dropped no map pieces, so I'm still working on finishing the map. I've been grinding there. Additionally, I'm just not logging every single hour anymore. It's about the same as any of the other Dehkia Valencia spots. If you are clearing very quickly, about 1 in every 3 hours is going to be your average on debos. If you're a little bit slower than, cap on that, or average numbers, you'll probably be 1 in 4, maybe even 5. Same as any of the other spots. If we take these debos out of it, just so you want to throw the RNG kind of out of the box, it's 1.365. Is what we come out to, a little under 1.4. Comparatively, if you recall, that is right around the same of what we saw at Pilaku. It's a little bit higher because I actually was able to pull a bit more trash loot, despite it being not quite worth as much as Sulfur's. So ended up being around 25k on my trash here. Theoretically, top end for a DK is probably something like 27 if you manage to stay on top of the blue circles, but it can be kind of sweaty because sometimes they're kind of hidden under some of the other AoEs to make sure you maximize those. So your mileage may vary on that depending on how you want to chill. Obviously, other classes are going to have variance for what kind of trash loot they can pull, since they have different AoE sizes, different damage, etc., etc. Everything else is pretty much the same that we see as far as drops, just like Pilaku was. Tons of scrolls here. We went peak of 70 and a low of 48. BMCs are slightly higher than we see at Pilaku by about double. Not that it's a ton, but yeah, the average there is a little bit higher. Caphras is like average, slightly lower, and we also had a really weird swings between it, which, I mean, RNG is RNG, but like 28 on the low end was kind of shocking that this occurred, and 67 on the upper end. Overall, still about in line with Pilaku. We see the same thing happen with Dust here, just some weird, like, giant swings in some areas. A lot of this just has to do with your RNG off the bosses, because you'll note that they drop more Caphras, can drop more Caphras than others, so sometimes you just hit that low end for it. Well, slightly more Yonas than we see at Pilaku as well. Definitely less Sissel, and you'll notice there's less soiled Sissels that are dropping out of this as well. I didn't note the soiled Sissels. I only put if a Sissel came out of them. But yeah, you can kind of see that spread several 0 hours, which I don't think we saw a single one like that. Oh, we did actually get a couple. This was a bit higher, and the soils are much, much, much higher at Pilaku. Claws were around the same. Again, Debos, like I said, if you're fast clear, 1 in 3. If you're average clear, probably 1 in 4 to 5 hours. Artifacts were whatever, Lightstones, whatever, and then the trace in it. So we get our total out at 1.5 and change, including our Debos, a little under 1.4 without Debos. Conclusion on this, same thing as Pilaku. There's no reason to be here unless you're grinding for the map, unless you just absolutely are in love with the spot. It is kind of nice having that blue buff effect, so I could see maybe some people being like, you know what, I do like this spot, and I don't mind the low Debo drop rate while I'm working on my earring. I am going to hit this up even though I have the map. That's potentially the case. I just don't think I would necessarily recommend it. Again, if you're looking for Debos, go to Olin's. And if you want to grind them solo, probably just do like Akhman, because the gear rec is much, much lower defensively, what you need, and you won't just like accidentally die to something at Akhman, where that is actually possible here. So that'd be my recommendation there. And if you want money, just be anywhere else that is in the 2 bill range for endgame players instead of here. So it's an option. You can do it. I just don't recommend it unless you really have the map. It's not terrible. In the 1.1.5 bill range is not, you're not absolutely throwing your hours for sure. And if you just get stupid lucky on Debos or whatever, that's, fine, go for it, I guess. It's just not necessarily what I recommend. Did I necessarily enjoy it? I don't mind it. I'm still working on the map. I haven't dropped a map piece at all. I actually already have the Devourer piece from before the Dehkia version was released, so I only need the 2-car piece, but to note, I have not dropped any. I'm probably about 15 or 16 hours in on this one so far, so we'll still be working on that this weekend, even after this video is posted as well. I think I prefer Pilaku, personally, over this one, and that is just because I feel like the Moving around to catch the geysers to make sure that your trash loot is on point is a little bit annoying. Turning my brain off and just chill grinding is definitely possible, but then there's a much more noticeable decline in your performance when you do that. Whereas Pilaku, I can just not pay attention to anything, and the trash loot's completely consistent because I don't have to zip around to catch a buff in time before a geyser goes off. So they're both fine for me. I'm not in love with either one, and I won't stay after the map is completed, but yeah, anyways, that's it. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you get notifications when new videos go live. And if you'd like to catch me playing live, there's a link to my Twitch page in the description down below. Jump on over there, drop a follow so you get notifications for that as well. With that said, that's going to be it for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.